Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because they agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Now, usually I am early or I'm right on time. Try to be timely when I set up my lives. But when I heard, and I was trying to confirm some information, I don't really do that on this channel. But y'all know the whole escape with Latasha and Tamika. You know, Latasha and Tamika, they're from here, from Detroit. Yeah, they're from Detroit. And so I know a lot of people that's kind of connected to them, like close to them. And so someone had reported, Really B was reporting something about Latasha leaving Rocky. So, you know me, I had to go, girl, is this true? That's what I was trying to find out. So anyway, that is why I was late. All right. I apologize. My nosy got the best of me and I was trying to confirm. So I'm trying to get some confirmings because that doggone Rocky. If you guys were keeping up with that whole escape, the Latasha situation, and Rocky over there on Tasha K and his mistress over there on Tasha K and showing she done had some, it just was a lot. So as soon as I get some information, I'll let y'all know just on GP. We might have to do that over at Hood and Ghetto because I try to keep it what it is over here. Oh, wait a minute. What they say? Oh. All right. So I'm trying to see if I can confirm or deny this allegation because I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, let me go ahead and post this over hither on Instagram for those people that don't get notifications. Sometimes YouTube is nice to me. Sometimes YouTube be telling me to kick rocks and they don't give anybody any type of notification. So I do post it over on Instagram. If you do not follow me on Instagram, please make sure that you go over. It's pam.esq. I'm also on TikTok where I do some of the short versions of the lives that we have. I just cut it up, different pieces. And yeah, that's that. So let me speak to a few of you. Paula said, how do you find the Hood and Ghetto channel? I haven't been over there in a while. Miss Buckeye, who would have that channel? I literally have not been over there in like 6 months. Well, I just talk about miscellaneous stuff. But it's social media jurors. I have to go find the link. Yes, please like the video on your way in. Granny the Great said, you my kind of nosy. Yeah. I just wanted to know for my own edification. That's all. Kelly said, yes, the Escape SWV show was good. It was very good. And it would be great to have a follow-up. And it was very sad of what happened because Latasha and Tamika were very close, to which every time, one of the reasons why Escape, according to upon information and belief, one of the reasons why that there were issues with Escape being broke up as long as it was because Tamika would always side with her sister. She always sided with her, good, bad, or indifference. It was blood is thicker than mud, and that's what it was. And they have alleged for a while that Latasha's husband, Rocky, may have been the cause of it. So I don't know. I just saw someone that posted and was talking about it, and I don't know how true it is. So it's alleged. It's alleged. So I'm gonna see if I can get some more inside scoop. Okay. As soon as I find out, I'll probably let you know in the membership if I find out anytime today. But that ain't what we're here for. All right. We are here because in the Diddy civil litigation world, things are happening of which we kind of expected it to happen because Jay-Z kind of opened up the door and gave some blueprints on how to handle some of these cases. Okay. So, as you guys are aware, Diddy has been sued a number of times. And a lot of those lawsuits are over there in the Southern District of New York. And a lot of those cases were filed by Doe plaintiffs, meaning we don't have their identity. And they have been filed by Tony Busby, who was an attorney out of Texas. So the internet was shooketh the other day. More likely than not, the reason why it was as big as it was is because people just did not understand how it works, how lawyers are allowed to practice in different jurisdictions. So Tony Busby, who had the 1-800 number, who Jay-Z calls the 1-800 lawyer, Tony Busby has filed a number of lawsuits against Diddy, and he is licensed to practice in Texas, in the state of Texas, and he's also licensed to practice in the state of New York. But once you become an attorney and you want to practice in federal court, that is a whole different request for admission. So, for instance, for myself, when I became an attorney in Michigan, I wanted to practice. I had cases I wanted to do in the Eastern District. We have the Eastern and the Western District of Michigan federal courts. I wanted to practice in the Eastern District. And in order for me to practice, I went into chambers and Judge Clay swore me in. And, we kicked it and he welcomed me to the profession. And that was that. I had a sponsor, the attorney that I was working for at that time, the very first firm I ever worked for. And we went in there and that was it. I got my little pretty certificate and I was able to practice there. So it takes a sponsor and it took, I actually got sworn in. Now, oftentimes you don't have to necessarily get sworn in. So every time I want to practice in the federal court in the Eastern District of Michigan, I just, file it because I am licensed. I'm able to practice there. Now, when it comes to other jurisdictions, say for instance, I want to practice in Florida. I picked one of the hardest ones because they're only one of the only ones that make you sit for their bar. They don't even have reciprocity with other states. So in Florida, if I wanted to go to the federal court in Florida, what I would have to do is I would have to get someone who is licensed in Florida, and I would ask them to pro hac vice me in. Now, everyone says pro hac vice, but a lot of stuff in the legal land is Latin. So it's not going to be necessarily pronounced as how we will pronounce other words. So it's pro hac vice. Some people say vici, pro hac vice, and it means it's basically for this one case. So if I get a sponsor, say I get someone who is in a major accident or something, and I feel like it's worth me representing them in a whole nother state and flying down there for courts and proceedings and everything, then what I will do is I will get a sponsor if I know an attorney willing to sponsor me. In filing the complaint, the person sponsoring me puts their name on the complaint, and then I may put my name on it and pro hac vice forthcoming. And at the same time, I'm filing a motion to be admitted pro hac vice. And what you do is you have to file a certificate that you get from the state bar that you are in good standing. They ask you, have you ever been denied the ability to practice in other jurisdictions? They ask you a couple of questions, very simple. Typically, the other side does not even respond to your motion, and almost as fast as you file your motion, as long as your paperwork is in order, the judge will rubber stamp it, and basically you can go ahead and practice. But it's for that one case. It does not allow you to practice in multiple cases. It literally says one time only. So what was very, and it's pretty much the similar, the protocol. Now, when I graduated and took the bar, and I don't know how current my information is, I was advised as a member of the Michigan State Bar, I could only pro hac in 5 times a year. So I would pick strategically different. Usually it would be like Georgia or something. And one of the reasons why I would pick certain states is because we have what is called reciprocity. So that means that after you've been practicing for a certain amount of years, you can apply to waive into their bar. And then you don't have to even take their bar and you can be admitted. So oftentimes when you see some of these lawyers, I know here in Michigan, they'll have also admitted in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Some of these states they have never really practiced in, but we have reciprocity. So if you have the ability to just waive in and you just have to pass character and fitness, why not? It always looks good that you can practice in other jurisdictions. So that is my intro, so you guys can have a foundation for the live on today. So we know that Busby filed a number of cases in the state of New York court. I think there's a good 6 or 7. Mostly John Does are in the state court. And then we have a lot that were in the federal court, the Southern District of New York. And so let me see if I could take myself off of Facebook. Because I don't know, I feel like having Facebook on here is, if you're on Facebook, I need you to come on over to YouTube because I am about to stop this live right now because it's slowing up my YouTube stuff for some reason. So I'm about to remove this. Thank you so much, Facebook. That's why I usually don't add Facebook. But make sure you come on over, okay? Just come on over, okay? All right. Okay. I don't know if it deleted it or not because I've never done that before. I think they're going to make me go over to Facebook and do it. Anyways, let me see what this is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Facebook, but I'm not going to do this again. I was trying to be nice and put it on my other platforms as well because everybody's not on YouTube, but it's not working out for me. And it's like slowing up my algorithm here for some reason. Which I noticed that it does. Really B is over here. Hey, girl. So, Really B, before I get into my commentary for today, I saw your video before I came on, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you. So, who is reporting the stuff about Latasha? Huh? Latasha from Escape. She did a video. So, when you guys leave here, go over there and watch her video on Latasha. Latasha from Escape. But I need a quick rundown right quick. Pam, I have been attending class for 12 months. When will I receive my paralegal? Thank you, Patty. Let me get those up. I got to send those to the printer. All right. So, you said she made a song about it? Okay. Yep, I just did a video. Okay. So she made a song and she said she was leaving him. Is that what happened? Right. He said, see, you can't be nice, stay in these youth. I was trying because my older saints, they stay on YouTube on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I shouldn't be like that. Even though Facebook to me is dry, I was like, I shouldn't be that way. I don't go on Facebook like that either. And so, but today I just was feeling like, you know what? Let me not be that way let me not be discriminatory. I'm going to add Facebook. And now it's like everything is moving slow to get the word out and get the notifications out because I did that. So I'm not doing it anymore. I might just delete it off my StreamYard at this point. She used Chris Brown's song with her twist about possibly her life. Child, she posted a song talking about leaving Rocky and wanted to make up with her sister. Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Okay, well. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Yvette, for becoming a member. I appreciate that. So, anyway, we're here to talk about Diddy. I'm just chit chatting. I know some of you guys are on your break, some of you guys are working. So, anyway, I did my intro about pro Hac Vice and so we know that Jay-Z's case was recently dismissed where he was accused of being a part of some type of sexual assault where the case was first filed against just Diddy and his companies like all the other cases we've seen. But then within the document they talked about celebrity A and celebrity B. And celebrity A allegedly was a part of this assault of this 13-year-old. Well, apparently we all know Busby sent Jay-Z basically a demand letter. From my understanding, there wasn't even an amount in it, but I guess the language of saying you may want to pay to avoid it going public or whatever it said, Jay-Z took it as you're trying to extort me out of money. And so what Jay-Z did under John Doe is he filed a lawsuit in California state court against Busby. Since that time, all hell has literally broke loose between these two firms, literally, Quinn Emanuel and Busby's law firm. They've been going head to head. Quinn Emanuel, I guess they got investigators, and they've been going hard in the paint about Busby. You know, Jay-Z, we don't even hear him talk. He was online talking about he didn't do anything, and this guy is unethical. And it's just been, to accuse him of this type of stuff. And he had to sit down with his kids and his wife and explain all of these lies. And so they being Quinn Emanuel never let their foot off of Busby's neck. Busby, it was some clients allegedly that now they filed lawsuits against Busby saying somehow he did something wrong in their representation. Some of them said, I guess they were approached by investigators and asking, did we looked at your case and it looks like it was an additional claim that you could have had and made more money. Just anything to make this man's life a living hell, right? But Jay-Z said, you're going to wish you ain't never did this. You done ran into the wrong one. And so they've been going back and forth, and we've been talking about them going back and forth for a little while now. What ended up happening is Jay-Z's attorney wrote a letter to the judge and talked about how they were going to file sanctions, but they believe that the reason why they said Busby has not entered an appearance in the case, did not request to get admitted or pro hac in the case. So that was in a letter that we went over. It was like, he doing all this filing and he has not even asked the Southern District of New York if he can enter in an appearance or pro hac in. He did have local counsel, but he was the one that was filing these documents to the docket. So Busby, apparently he is in good standing in New York state, and he's also been sworn in the Eastern District of New York. However, he was not sworn into the Southern, or he's not admitted into the Southern, which means he has to pro hac vice in. So that was one of the things that came up. I was like, that is very interesting that he would even, it seems like like your secretary, your assistant does that. Like you know you're trying to enter into a case. You got your local counsel. And so you just that's like as soon as you file a complaint. So I did think it was kind of odd that he didn't motion in. But again, I didn't know if he was able to practice there. He could have just automatically been admitted there. Maybe he just had local counsel because that's just what he does. He has other firms or something that works with him. So I didn't pay it no, never mind. But when you have someone like Jay-Z who is on your neck, they are looking at every nook and cranny. They're going to look at every procedural flaw, and they're going to look at any substantive flaw. They're going to look at anything to come against, your practicing. Okay. And that's exactly what happened. Apparently, they did their research and found out that he was not admitted in the Southern District of New York, which means that you have to pro hac vice in. So there was another case, McCrary versus Diddy. And in that case, apparently, let me back up. So what ended up happening is the court told Busby that he had until Valentine's Day to show that he was admitted to practice. Right before that day occurred, he dismissed the case. Somebody in the chat reminded me because I was like, oh, well, maybe he done finally realized that, he didn't have a case, because we all know all the discrepancies in the case. We all know that the Jumbotron wasn't outside. The house didn't exist. The daddy said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't pick her up that day. I have no clue what she's referring to. We all know all of the issues that were happening in this case. So I just thought maybe he just came to his senses after, fighting with him for a while, and he just dismissed this case. But somebody did bring it up, and they were like, yeah, Pam, remember the judge said that by the 14th, he had to say whether he was admitted and show proof that he was admitted. I was like, oh, okay, that's a good, y'all some smart people, all right? I got 1,000 cases online and offline. It ain't that many, but it's a lot. So I just didn't even think about it. It just went over me. I'm not even going to lie. So shout out to you that remember that. So the McCrary case, there was someone named McCrary who also filed a lawsuit against Combs. And apparently it was brought to that judge's attention that this case was filed and that he didn't pro hac in, and he's not admitted to practice in the Southern District. So because of that, Busby had to go into every case and basically file a motion to pro hac in. So he was denied admission. It may have been in the 13-year-old case, but what we do know is Busby filed a motion for pro hac, and in that denial from the commissioner, the Grievance Commission for the Southern District of New York, they put in there that every time you request admission, you need to attach this order, because they do ask you in those applications, have you been denied in any other jurisdiction? So now you've been denied because you chose not to ask for admission at the start of the case, which to me is so ridiculous, because I don't see a reason why he would be denied admission. So I'm not understanding what happened, how somehow the communication lapsed within that firm. I don't know, but that's like literally 101. So in the McCrary case, when he filed a motion, he attached that denial. So I'm thinking that he may have been denied the ability to practice within, maybe that's what somebody reported him to the Grievance. I mean, we can speculate as to who that somebody is, but somebody reported him to the Grievance, and he received that he was denied admission on the 13th, which means he had to show on the 14th in the Jay-Z case that he was admitted. So clearly he wasn't going to be able to do that in 24 hours. So I think that was part of the reason. Now, I really do believe that was part of the reason why he just said whatever. And which attorney is going to take this case? So he could have left the local counsel do it, or he could have let, some other firm come in and take over it so the case isn't just, out here. But that it's not just dismissed, and this person that you believe really had a claim against Jay-Z and Diddy and all of his companies, that they could have proceeded with the claim. However, I don't know one attorney that has been following this case that would be like, I'll do it. I'll go against Quinn Emanuel on these facts. I don't know one person that would have did it. So if I were to speculate, which I'm doing, I would say that it probably was because he couldn't get nobody else to come in once they said denied his admission in the Southern District. Now, again, what they said was they didn't tell him. See, people were putting out there that he was barred. So that's why he went around showing, he basically did a post and said, I usually don't answer, all of the innuendos out here, which ain't true. He's been going back and forth in the media since he did the whole Diddy thing. I mean, my gosh, he had a 1-800 number that you can call. And he said he had over 3,000 calls. Of course, the majority of them was probably bull. But he literally created a 1-800 number if you were alleging to have been assaulted by Diddy. So, but then now you're saying, I don't really pay attention to the media and all of the, false allegations and sensationalism in the media. But he showed his certificate that he can practice in the state of New York, which he can practice in the state court. However, what he cannot do is practice in the Southern District of New York unless and until they allow him to pro hac in. All right? So that's where the issue is. So now Diddy's attorney is looking at Jay-Z's moves. So what I noticed is Diddy's attorneys have been filing a motion to dismiss that was almost similar to the claims that Jay-Z filed before, which was that act that they're doing it under, Gender Motivated Violence Act, that it doesn't apply to some of these cases, or it's not retroactive. So a lot of those dismissals have happened as well. But what has happened, which typically does not happen, is that on top of that, Diddy's attorney, late in the midnight hour, like literally midnight, they filed a motion opposing Busby's attempts to get admission pro hac in the Southern District of New York in their case. Because what Busby started doing is filing motions to pro hac in now. It seems so backward. It has to, well, I'm not going to say it has to be, but I would speculate that maybe he just thought once he filed it, it was going to be a bunch of settlements or something. Because why wouldn't you just pro hac in? That's ridiculous to me. So before I pull up this document, thank you, Roxy, for the super chat. You said, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Granny the Great said, thanks, Pam, for watching the court docs for us and keeping us informed. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yvette, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate the support. Uncle Mario been a member for 20 months. Thank you so much for supporting the channel for 20 months. I appreciate that. And I think I already got Yvette. Thank you so much again. So make sure you hit the like button on the way in. If you're just coming in, you ain't missed nothing because I really haven't even talked about it. So let's pull this up. Let me see. This is what we are going to discuss on today. This is the document that was filed last night. It says February 25th, so maybe it was right before midnight. I know it was late that this was filed. And again, this is something when attorneys try to pro hac in, you usually don't even pay it any never mind. Like you're like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's up to the judge. I'm not going to fight on whether an attorney from a whole nother state should be allowed to practice. Nobody usually responds to this. Well, apparently now Diddy's attorney then got a little bit of juice, probably because of how Quinn Emanuel and them were out here with Busby. And they are opposing his motion to pro hac in the Candace McCrary case. There were also motions that I saw that were filed to dismiss the cases based on what I just said, that the gender motivated act does, and I know it's more to the acronym, but I don't have it at the top of my tongue right now. That statute doesn't apply. And also I've seen some oppositions on allowing Jane Doe to remain private. So they're going hard in the paint now. I think now they done seen. So Jay-Z, even though Jay-Z was not trying to help Diddy, I think you can gather that from his statements. He was distancing himself. He was saying, stop trying to lump me in with somebody that's accused of that. Like he was trying to protect himself. He wasn't thinking about no Diddy and how what he said was gonna affect Diddy. But because Jay-Z was a part of this case with Diddy, now one case is gone, because I told you if Jay-Z gets dismissed, and the way this was explained, that it was 3 people allegedly. One was Sean, one was Jay-Z, one was somebody we don't know, but it was a woman celebrity. Because of that, which was never named, which is interesting. But because of that, now that case was dismissed, and it seems like, Diddy, from the civil aspect, again, this ain't part of the criminal, they're going on this momentum. So Jay-Z almost inadvertently, I think, helped Diddy. Jay-Z was telling the truth. He's the money grabber. He didn't pro hac in, so he wouldn't get sanctioned. He was looking forward to a settlement. It didn't work. That's from Y'all Peace. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Y'all Peace. And that's what Y'all Peace said. Y'all Peace said this was all a plot that Ty set up. And Jay-Z said, you got the right one. Let's get ready to run. Jay-Z was posting with them exclamation points. So I know you guys laugh at me, because I know when I talk about the emotions in writing, and I'm like, don't be yelling at me over here with these all caps and exclamation points. Jay-Z was very passionate, and you could hear him talking when he was going off. Like, I'm not the one or the two. And so he gave him a run for his money. And that he had good outcome. Elite Leo said Busby attached Jay-Z to it, so it's Busby's fault. And let's Spiro exposed Busby. You said Diddy should have hired Quinn Emanuel. Now, Quinn Emanuel has been representing Roc Nation for a long time. So it's probably a conflict in a way, especially if, but I see what you're saying. Maybe some Quinn Emanuel like attorneys. But I don't know if, because they've been representing Jay-Z, Roc Nation, and all of that, it may have been some type of a conflict, especially with them doing the same type of stuff or whatever. But I don't know. I'm sure he wish, if Diddy is following this, I'm sure he's looking at how the Jay-Z thing went and how fast he was able to, it was filed, Jay-Z was added. What was it, like December-ish? Gone by February. Diddy stuff been lingering since Cassie filed her lawsuit in November of 23. He been catching everything. He been catching hell in these civil streets since that time. So anyway, let's get into it. So this is the memorandum of law in support and opposition of plaintiff's amended motion for admission pro hac vice for Anthony Busby. Never seen one of these before, because we don't really care if you come in. But now they're using this as a way to say he shouldn't be allowed, period. Because listen, if he's not allowed to practice in the state federal court, the federal Southern District of New York federal courts is what I meant to say, because he does have cases in the state court and he is allowed to practice in the state of New York. That would eliminate a number of cases. So this will be a way to get rid of some cases if they can pull this rabbit out of the hat. So the preliminary statement is, in our collective decades of practice, undersigned counsel have never opposed a pro hac vice application. and we do not do so lightly here. I'm telling you, don't nobody do that. Like, for what? That's just the attorney that the person that's suing chose. What I got to do with it? But Busby's egregious misconduct warrants denial of the privilege of appearing in this district. He has signed multiple filings across 22 cases without permission to practice in this court. He failed in each instance to disclose that he had filed without being admitted, and he violated New York's rules of professional conduct by, among other things, repeatedly insisting that Mr. Combs is guilty of the criminal charges pending against him in this district, even though Busby has no good faith basis to believe the government will call any of his clients as a witness in this case. For these reasons discussed in detail below, this court should deny Busby's pro hac vice application. Factual background. Busby brings over 20 cases in this district while not admitted to practice before this court. As plaintiff-led counsel in this case, Busby has for 4 months been signing and, upon information and belief, drafting, directing, and advising on pleadings and other filings in this action and others without obtaining permission to practice in the Southern District of New York and without disclosing that he lacks such permission. Motion for leave to proceed pseudonymous. So he's showing the ECF, which is the different electronic filings on the federal docket. Busby's declaration in support of motion for leave to proceed okay, they're putting all of them on there, all the different things signed by Busby. Busby has done the same thing in 21 other cases filed in this district, all brought on behalf of plaintiff proceeding anonymously. While filing lawsuits after lawsuit without authorization, he has repeatedly promoted his cases with statements that violate the New York rules of professional conduct. In countless social media posts, media appearances, and press conferences, Busby has inappropriately commented on pending litigation in a manner that violates his professional and ethical obligations by, among other things, opining on Mr. Combs' guilt on criminal charges that are scheduled to be tried in this district beginning May 5th of 2025. Worse, he has falsely accused Mr. Combs of actually abusing dozens of children when Mr. Combs has never been charged with such crimes. And so in the footnote, as you guys see, it's a bunch of cases. So they just listed all the cases that he has over there filed with his signature with no permission to practice. Since October 14, 2024, Busby has directed the filings of at least 22 actions in the Southern District of New York against defendant Sean Combs and a slate of entities associated with him. From October 14, 2024 to January 29, 2025, Busby directed the filings of and litigated cases in this district without having applied for regular pro hac vice admission. From October to January, Busby never indicated in a single action that in this district that he was not admitted here, that he had no application pending here, and that he had not sought admission pro hac vice. Because that's what you put. Like, if you either say pro hac vice forthcoming, so the court to know you're not admitted to practice yet, or you put it, the application is pending, because some states don't allow you to just pull down your certificate of good standing. You may have to wait a couple of days or whatever. Every state is different, and so it may take a little bit, but you do advise the court that you have took the proper steps towards getting admitted. Opposing counsel brings it to light Busby's lack of admission. On December 13, 2024, counsel for Sean Carter, also known as Jay-Z, another celebrity Busby sued without a good faith basis, filed a letter in a related action before the Honorable Annalisa Torres, which disclosed that Busby had not been admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York, despite having signed numerous pleadings and other filings in this district. In the subsequent motion for sanctions filed on January 8th of 2025, Mr. Carter's counsel noted that Busby had still, quote, not obtained admission pro hac vice, and further observed, quote, indeed, although Busby advised the court on December 20th that he was admitted to practice in the Eastern District of New York and intended to apply for reciprocal admission to the Southern District, he has not even sought interim admission pro hac vice. So it sounds like because he was admitted in the Eastern District of New York, he was going to try to get some type of reciprocity and just be admitted in the Southern District, which means you don't have to pro hac in if you're admitted. You only have to pro hac if you're not admitted in that court. In response, Busby attested on January 22nd of 2025 that his application for reciprocal admission in the Southern District of New York was forthcoming. This representation was false. Even so, Busby took no action until January 28, 2025, after the Honorable Annalisa Torres directed Busby to file proof of admission on the docket. By February 14th, Busby finally applied on the following day for admission. Even though at the same time, Busby had filed multiple actions in this district, he did not notify any of those courts that he had not yet been admitted to practice here, nor did he seek admission pro hac vice. Sub C, Busby is denied admission in the Southern District of New York. On February 13th of 25, the Honorable Catherine Polk Falia, chair of the Committee on Grievance for the Southern District of New York, issued an order denying Busby's request for admission. Busby was denied admission because, quote, per the committee's review of the dockets, Busby has appeared in cases in the court without seeking admission, end quote. The final sentence of the order denying admission states, in the event Busby moves for pro hac vice or regular admission in this court in the future, he must attach a copy of this order to this motion or petition. Busby took no steps to notify this court or any other court in the district where his actions were pending that he had been denied admission to practice here. So really, in theory, that one denial should go for all the cases he's filed, because that court said in the future. So what he started doing was trying to motion in cases he already filed. I think personally, if I were to interpret it, that the court was saying any cases that you have filed, you are currently denied. You are currently denied admission. Queen E said SDNY is the mother court and is sovereign from the rest of them. He needed to apply for it. So you're saying, I hope Judge Viscalsil denies Busby. P said dummies, aka gossip YouTubers who weren't attorneys are claiming Jay-Z paid the feds off. People are... No, I knew it wasn't a settlement because I can tell the way the conversation was going. Settlements, we gonna have some confidentiality. We're gonna have something. There was and then it was denied by them as well. They denied it was a settlement. If there was a settlement, Busby would have been came out and said something. So now I am more inclined to believe, even though the facts were horrible in the Jay-Z case, I think Busby didn't have a choice, right? If they tell you you can't practice in the Southern District, what you about to do? You have to dismiss it. Because if you refile it in a whole, where are you going to refile it at this point? And who's going to take this case? Nobody. So I think coupled with the facts, he dismissed it with prejudice where he can't bring it anymore. But yeah, it does allow, Jay-Z to say, I told you this was egregious and nothing was true and everything was a lie. But I do think his lack of admission may have played a big role in him dismissing this case. So, and to remind people, we went over the case that was filed against Busby by Jay-Z. He filed that case before he was even added to the lawsuit with Sean Combs that we're discussing. So people that's just now talking about that lawsuit is just like interesting because they're making it as if it's new. That is not a new lawsuit. That lawsuit was filed and he was John Doe at first because Busby had not amended and named him on the lawsuit yet. He just had threatened to do that in a demand letter. So people are making it seem like Jay-Z is suing Busby now for filing the false allegations after the case was dismissed. That is not the timeline. Jay-Z had already filed against Busby before he was even a part of the lawsuit. So I need people to start, when you pulling these documents, because everybody is into the legal bag now and they're pulling down documents, probably don't know half of what they're reading, but it's what's trending right now. So if you're going to do that, at least look at the dates. Just look at the dates. The affidavit that went out there that Jay-Z filed was a part of his opposition to a motion because Busby, in the state case against him by Jay-Z, he filed a motion to strike the complaint, which is an anti-SLAPP in California. He filed that as his first response. So Jay-Z opposed it, obviously, his motion to dismiss the case. Jay-Z opposed it, and in that opposition, he added an affidavit. That's what was going around. It was nothing new. It was no new lawsuit. Now, the affidavit was new because it was a part of a motion, but people are reporting it like this was just happening. Oh, yeah, Jay-Z, I heard it on a couple of radio shows. Like, Jay-Z, now because he dismissed the case, he's suing. No, Jay-Z sued before the case was even filed. So, yeah. Let's move on. Queenie said they are really funny in the SDNY. They do things differently. I'm surprised he got that far. Yeah, I'm surprised nobody, but I don't think judges really, it's been attorneys that have done well, not attorneys, but people that were not licensed ever, so they weren't attorneys, that have filed. That's why they have the unauthorized practice of law. Like, there are some people that have entered into cases. They don't have the permission to enter into cases because they're not licensed, and they've done several cases. We have the case in Ernest Williams' case where she took somebody's whole identity, Erica King. She took somebody and she represented him and spoke on his behalf and won a couple of them cases too. Like, one to the point where one of the alleged victims that was going against him, they ended up doing a warrant against her for filing a false police report. But he literally had a person that doesn't even have a license that took somebody's whole identity, took their name and their bar card and put their number on there and practiced under them and represented someone. So there is a lot of different things that go on, and it has to be caught. But I don't think just generally people are looking like, are they admitted? Are they admitted? I don't know. So let's go. Busby took no steps to notify this court or any other court in the district where his actions were pending that he had been denied admission to practice. Instead, in this action and others, Busby continued to appear in court filings without disclosing the adverse action the district's grievance committee had taken against him and without seeking admission pro hac. So then it shows the voluntary dismissal of bad boy, voluntary. So he did start voluntarily dismissing certain entities even after that, like voluntary dismissal of bad boy records and all of that. But he still had Diddy on the pleading. So he didn't dismiss the whole case, but he had started dismissing certain entities. So when you look on the docket, you see a bunch of voluntary dismissals on various cases, but it's only for defending bad boy records. And he did do that and was signing to dismiss certain people. And apparently some of these dates are after he got the notice that he was denied admission into the Southern District of New York. Busby files the instant motion in response to a court order. Plaintiff filed the instant application pro hac vici admission only after the court required it. Filing a receipt of a pre-motion letter response on the Busby law firm letterhead signed only by Busby, this court issued the following order. The court notes that plaintiff's letter in opposition to the pre-motion letter filed by Marriott International is signed by Anthony Busby. The court has been informed that Busby is not admitted to practice in the Southern District. So even after they told you're not admitted, he signed a letter in response to another letter in this case. And the judge was like, hold on, time's out. I was just made aware you're not even allowed to practice here and you still signing stuff and giving it to me. He said the court has been informed that Busby is not admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York. He has not filed a motion to appear pro hoc in this case. As such, Busby is in violation of Local Civil Rule 1.3. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered that Busby must file a motion to appear pro hoc no later than February 21st of 2025. So that's why he ended up filing the motion to pro hoc in this case, because the court called him out that, yeah, I was made aware. We talk, us judges, we kick it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we were over a cup of coffee. It's like, did you know Busby ain't even admitted here? No, that probably didn't happen like that. But she was letting them know that there was information she received that he wasn't allowed to practice, but you still signing stuff and filing it to this darn docket. What I'm gonna need you to do is do what you're supposed to do and follow the rules, including the rules of professional responsibility. And you got until the 21st of February to do what I told you to do. So that's what he did. He filed a motion to pro hoc in this case before the 21st. And he attached that dismissal to it. And that's how we got the dismissal. That's how we learned, not the dismissal, I'm sorry, the denial. That's how we learned that there was a denial in the first place for him to practice in the Southern District, because he had to attach it to this motion in this case because the court told him he had to do it by the 21st. The court further warned that, quote, failure to comply with the court's order, the federal rules of civil procedure, the local rules of this court, individual rules of practice may result in sanctions. On the eve of the court's deadline, Busby filed his motion to appear pro hoc in the case, which was also his first motion to appear pro hoc in any case in the district since he began filing cases against the defendant in October of 24. Busby submitted an affidavit in support of his first PHV motion in which he admitted, as required by the local rules of the United States District Court for the Southern District and Eastern District of New York, that he was recently denied admission to the Southern District of New York. In the affidavit, he stated that he had been denied admission following the filing of a grievance against me by counsel for one of the defendants in an action in which I was counsel. So I assume that it was Jay-Z's attorney and them file and let the Grievance Commission know that he is not admitted to practice in the Southern District and he had not pro hoc in. Busby declared that he was unaware that a grievance had been filed against him at the time he applied for admission to the Southern District of New York and understands that the filing of a grievance is a disciplinary action under the rules of the Southern District of New York. Busby implied that he was denied admission to the Southern District of New York for the same reason a grievance was filed against him, primarily because he electronically signed numerous pleadings alongside his firm's local counsel without being admitted here. Busby averred, to the extent I violated the Southern District rules, those violations were inadvertent, and I will make certain such never occurs again. Busby also submitted a copy of the order denying admission issued by the Committee on Grievances as required in the text of that order. He did not submit a copy of the aforementioned grievance. This first PHV motion was also supported by a declaration from Ms. Curtis, Busby's local counsel. The Curtis declaration, which is undated, states that Ms. Curtis was advised by Busby that he had never been censured, suspended, disbarred, or denied admission or readmission by any court. The court directed plaintiff to refile the first PHV motion for several filing deficiencies, including because the submission was missing a certificate of good standing from the Supreme Court of Texas, missing a proposed order, and missing a wet signature from Busby. Plaintiff filed an amended motion for Busby to appear pro hoc VJ on February 24th of 2025. This is identical in all respects to the first PHV motion, but purports to resolve the deficiencies identified in the court's February 21st text order. Apart from the motion that Busby filed in this case after being directed to so by the court, Busby has not filed a motion to appear pro hac vice in any other courts pending in the district. So then we have the legal standard. Y'all doing all right? Y'all doing all right? You said Diddy's too messy though. Listen, because I done added Facebook on her. I already know what slowed it down. I added Facebook trying to be nice, and I don't know how to cut it off. I don't know how to delete it at this point. And so because of that, Facebook is on here. So I know a lot of people probably ain't even getting their notification. But thank you so much for coming over here. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. He filed a bunch of them at one time. No, I'm surprised they didn't catch her. They were just let them sit there. He did. He did. All right. So then they go over the legal standard and local rules which govern pro hac vice admission. Provides that a lawyer duly admitted and in good standing in another state or any United States district court may be permitted to argue or try a particular case in whole or in part as counsel or advocate upon motion. The rule sets forth the requirements an attorney seeking pro hac admission must follow, which includes requesting pro hac electronic filing privileges through PACER. The attorney seeking admission must support her application with a certificate of the court issued within 30 days of filing. For each jurisdiction where she is admitted, an affidavit from the applicant stating whether she has ever been convicted of a felony and or censured, suspended, disbarred, or denied admission or readmission by any court, and whether there are any disciplinary proceedings presently against the applicant, and if so, the facts and circumstances surrounding each incident. So that's the information you have to provide in your affidavit pursuant to Local Rule 1.3c. A local pro hac vice admission is a privilege, not a right. The decision to grant or deny admission rests within the sound discretion of the presiding judge and may be revoked as the judge sees fit. Before granting pro hac admission, courts have required reasonable assurance that such attorney is familiar with the federal rules of civil procedures, the local rules for the Southern District Court, individual rules, and the customs and practices of this court. In addition to considering whether the attorney seeking pro hac demonstrates the requisite familiarity with local practice, the court may consider whether the applicant instills confidence that their representations may be relied upon. So then they get into the argument. So that's the legal standard that they're going by. And so this is the argument that Sean Diddy Combs is stating and opposing his request, Busby's request for admission pro hac in this case. Busby's motion for admission should be denied because he has repeatedly shown that he is unwilling or unable to follow this district's local rules and because his application is deficient. For nearly 5 months, Busby has filed a case after case in the district against defendants in the name of anonymous plaintiffs without seeking admission of any kind and without disclosing his lack of admission until raised by a court or adversary. He did not apply for admission to practice in this district until January 29, 2025, more than 6 weeks after his failure to do so was publicized in a letter filed by opposing counsel. 5 weeks after he represented to another judge in this district that he intended to apply for admission, which he only did after opposing counsel disclosed Busby's lack of admission, and 2 weeks after he represented to another judge in this district that his application was forthcoming. Even after Busby was expressly put on notice by the Committee on Grievances that making repeated submissions to courts in the district where he is not authorized to practice violates the local rules, a concept so fundamental to the practice of law it requires no forewarning, Busby took no corrective action. Instead, he continued making filings in this district without noting that his lack of admission until this court required him to seek pro hac admission. If this court had not noticed that Busby was practicing without being admitted, there is every reason to believe he would have continued to do so because that is precisely what Busby is doing in more than 20 other cases pending in this district. even after declaring in a February 20th affidavit submitted to this court that his errors were inadvertent and he will make certain such conduct never occurs again. He has failed to seek admission pro hac vice in any of the other pending cases. At best, Busby's repeated violations of the local rules are, as he puts it, inadvertent and demonstrate his unfamiliarity with practice in this district. At worst, the serial violations demonstrate that the court cannot rely on Busby to make reliable representations and conduct himself professionally and ethically. Whichever explanation the court credits, Busby's conduct warrants denying him the privilege of appearing pro hac before this court. Courts in this district have used their discretion to deny even unopposed motions for pro hac admission when plaintiff's counsel repeated failure to comply with the local rules demonstrated counsel's lack of familiarity with local practices, casting doubt on counsel's competence to practice here. And so they give cases of which the court said no. Okay. So let's move on. So then, as in Erbachi, which is a case, I'm sure that was just one of the cases I just bypassed because I don't want to read all that. Busby's repeated violations of the local rules betray his lack of familiarity with local practice. The court cannot be reasonably assured that Busby understands and will follow the local rules and customs because he has shown time and time again that he cannot. After being directed by this court to file a motion for admission pro hac under the local rules, which he should have done when the case was first filed months ago, before Busby's motion was deficient. He failed to provide a certificate of good standing from Texas in violation of the rules, 1.3K. Instead, he included an unsworn letter from the Texas State Bar. He also failed to provide a proposed order for the court to grant and to include a wet signature as the attorney seeking pro hac status in a filing made from under lawyer's Pacer's account, another lawyer's Pacer account. Okay, so they're saying he don't know how to follow the rules, and that's one of the things. In order to pro hac in, you gotta be familiar with the rules, and clearly he don't know. Okay, that's what they saying. Clearly, if it was inadvertent, then he don't know the rules. And if he actually did know and it was purposefully, then he don't care about the rules. So either way, he shouldn't be admitted. That's what they're saying. Additionally, Busby's conduct in this case is unrelated to his pro hac application, demonstrates his lack of understanding of the local rules and local practice. In the early days of this case, he violated Rule 10A of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedures and Rule 6.14 of the SDNY Electronic Case Filing Rules and Instructions by filing the action under a pseudonym without first seeking leave from the court. Now, y'all remember that. The court was on him because before you file under Jane or John Doe, you have to seek permission from the court. So oftentimes it'll get filed at the same time, a motion to allow you to continue to do it at the same time the complaint is being filed. But he didn't even do that. He just filed stuff under Jane and John Doe and didn't seek leave from the court to be able to do so. Even crediting Busby's claim that his repeated violations of the rules governing practice in this district are inadvertent, the court can and should use its discretion to deny his motion for pro hac admission because of Busby's apparent lack of familiarity with local practice and his failure, even after acknowledging his violations, to take corrective actions to his other cases pending in this district. So then they go on to say, and additionally, Judge, I got something else. Busby's application for pro hac admission itself is deficient. So even whatever he filed for his application, it ain't even right. Under the local rule, 1.3K4 requires applicants to state the facts and circumstances surrounding any disciplinary proceeding against the applicant. Yeah, so we want to know why. We want to know who filed this grievance, why they filed the grievance. Like, we want the facts and the circumstances, and the court wants to know that too. Like, we want to know. We want to know, was it Jay-Z's attorney? Busby purports to comply with the requirement by stating that the primary factor underlying the grievance against him is that he electronically signed numerous pleadings alongside my firm's local counsel. So they're saying that's what he put as his reason for the grievance, that he electronically signed numerous pleadings alongside my firm and local counsel, and further noting that the grievance included information regarding the filing of a lawsuit against me by a former client. But this bare bone description is not sufficient to state the circumstances of the grievance, because he only discloses one factor underlying the grievance when Busby's own declaration implies there are multiple factors. And though he vaguely references a lawsuit against him by a former client, he fails to describe the nature of those claims. In addition, the declaration submitted by Busby's local counsel in support of Busby's pro hac application falsely represents that Busby has never been censured, suspended, disbarred, or denied admission or readmission by any court. That's why you have to be careful, even as local counsel, who you decide to allow to pro hac in and you be local counsel. That's why I've turned people down that want to ask me to be local counsel. The ones that I have pro hac, allowed in and did do that, we like cool, and I pretty much know some of their background, their work ethics, and what they've done, and I know the case. Like, I learned the case, because if something happens to him, I might have to go ahead and run with, take the baton like a marathon. But you get some people that just pro hac you in, or they sponsor you to pro hac in, and they don't know nothing about you, and they don't have nothing to do with the case. So they don't really know. They just signing off on stuff thinking that you're going to do things right. So then now you getting stray bullets right now, that you said that he didn't have any grievances, but clearly he does, is what they're saying. So now it make local counsel look like you're not following the rules either. So local counsel done caught a stray bullet off of Busby. So there's that. I haven't liked him since he ran for mayor for Houston, and when he had all of those women claim against Deshaun Watson. He likes to file lawsuits that have multiple complainants. So he does a lot of class actions, it sounds like, over there in Texas. Could have been the ex-girlfriend. That's true. He had a state court case, though. He had a state, that case with the ex-girlfriend that was the client, or I don't know if that was his girlfriend, but he was seeing her in some type of relationship. That was in state court. That wasn't even in federal court. So, yeah. That's it. Let's see what else you got to say. Jesus. In addition to violating the local rules and pursuing litigation in district, Busby has also repeatedly violated the New York rules of professional conduct. For example, New York Rules of Professional Responsibility 3.6a prohibits attorneys who are participating in a civil matter from making any extrajudicial statements that the lawyer knows or reasonably should know will be disseminated by means of public communication and will have a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing an adjudicative proceeding in the matter. A statement is likely to prejudice the matter if, among other things, it relates to the character, credibility, reputation, or criminal record of a party, suspect in a criminal investigation or witness, or the expected testimony of a party's witness. Any opinions as to the guilt or innocence of a defendant, or the fact that the defendant has been charged with a crime, unless there is included therein a statement explaining that the charge is merely an accusation and that the defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty. A lawyer may only state the following without elaboration. And so it tells you what you can say as a lawyer to abide by the rules. The number one, the claim, offense, or defense, and accept, when prohibited by law, the identity of the person involved. 2, information contained in public records. 3, that an investigation of a matter is in progress. 4, the scheduling or result of any step in litigation. 5, a request for assistance in obtaining evidence and information necessary thereto. And 6, a warning of danger concerning the behavior of a person involved when there is a reason to believe that there exists the likelihood of substantial harm to an individual or the public interest. So those are the only extrajudicial statements that you are allowed to make under the New York Professional Rules of Conduct. And they say, Busby's frequent press conferences clearly violate the rule. For example, in a press conference Busby held on October 1st, 2024 to advertise the launch of his campaign against defendants and promote a 1-800 number viewers could call to make claims against defendant, Busby described in great detail the expected testimony of several of the supposed 120 individuals on whose behalf he claimed he would be filing lawsuits. Now, again, he said this like 3-4 months ago. What was it, like October? And yeah, it was October 1st. He's filed 22 lawsuits in the Southern District, and I think he may have filed around 10 in the state. So he's nowhere near like this 120 that he said he was going to file within the next 2 weeks of that conference. But anyway, he described in the October 1st press conference, he described his clients. Busby said, quote, "It's shocking to hear the youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old," end quote, and claimed to represent 25 minors who were actually abused as children, implicitly accusing Mr. Combs of grave criminal conduct with which he has never been charged. In flagrant violation of the New York rules, Busby went on to describe in detail his client's expected testimony, including where they will say the alleged assaults occurred, the circumstances under which they would claim the assaults took place, the nature of the relationships his clients would claim they had with Mr. Combs prior to the purported assaults, the modus operandi his clients would allege Mr. Combs used to effectuate the alleged assaults, the alleged assaultive conduct his clients would claim they experienced, and the alleged injuries and harm his clients would say they suffered. Busby did not just preview his client's expected testimony in general terms. He relayed anticipated accounts of the as of then unfiled allegations from specific unnamed clients. Now, he did do that. Now, what Busby did in that press conference was he talked about allegations that were not in a lawsuit. He had not filed one lawsuit yet, I think. If he did, it was only one, if he did. But to my recollection, he was saying what he was about to do. And he talked about a bunch of minors, and the internet went crazy. And he had not filed one lawsuit at that time that I recall. If he did, I'll correct myself. But I know that there weren't when it came to the minors part, because I think Diddy's team came out with a statement. Because he like filed back to back, maybe, where it was like maybe 10 within a week or something. But I don't think any of those were filed at that time. But anywho, in describing his client's suspected narratives, he claimed that he had corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence for each of the accounts he presented, vouching for the truthfulness of his client's allegations and implicitly of Mr. Combs' guilt. And then after the press conference, Busby went on to participate in a media blitz campaign to promote his lawsuits. And in doing so, he routinely implied that Mr. Combs was a predilection for predator. I'm trying to make sure I can even say this right now on here. Okay, they're saying a pedo. Yeah. Commenting on his character. God, they got me nervous. I'm like, YouTube will strike you down over here. There can be no serious dispute that such statements had a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing this and other proceedings in flagrant violation of Rule 3.6. Indeed, even though none of Busby's clients is expected to testify at Mr. Combs' criminal trial, Busby's statements here are likely to prejudice Mr. Combs' criminal case, as they unambiguously express opinion as to his guilt or innocence of a defendant and relate to the character, credibility, reputation of a party suspect in a criminal investigation. So then they have in a footnote a YouTube channel where he was on the Chris Hansen show. Boy, these little interviews is getting folks in trouble. As a result of Busby's knowing failure to seek admission while continuing to practice in the district, his violation of the local rules, and the professional responsibilities and the deficiencies in his application, Busby does not merit the privilege of appearing pro hac because the court cannot be confident that his representations to the court can be relied on. In Acento Capital LLC, the district court issued an order to show cause explaining that plaintiff, a corporate entity, could not proceed pro se, and that plaintiff's founder and attorney who had not submitted an app to appear pro hac did not appear to qualify as counsel. In response to the court's order, plaintiff's counsel submitted a motion to appear pro hac, stating that he mistakenly believed he had been given permission to practice on a pro hac basis on the matter. In his motions, plaintiff's counsel swore that he had never been suspended, but the court independently determined that counsel had previously been administratively suspended in New York State under Judiciary Law Section 468, which requires attorneys to file registration statement, biennial registration statement with the New York State Bar. Even though plaintiff's counsel only failed to disclose an administrative suspension for a failure to comply with a registration requirement, as opposed to discipline doled out for affirmative misconduct, this district court denied counsel's motion because it is essential that the court be able to rely upon your representations made on the record by attorneys licensed to practice before it. The deception inherent in plaintiff's commission, whether willful or not, was sufficient to undermine the court's confidence that the attorney would behave professionally and ethically. And so they say that case should apply here. Busby failed to seek admission or even note in his signature block that an application was pending or forthcoming. The court reasonably assumed that Busby was permitted to practice in this district. When the question of whether Busby was permitted to practice came up in other matters, he expressly represented that he was in the process of getting admitted to the district, but his implied and express representations were not true, and he knew they weren't true when he made them. Busby did not apply for admission to any court in this district in any capacity until Judge Torres gave him 2 weeks to show proof that he was actually admitted long after he represented that admission was forthcoming. Moreover, these public statements reflect that he does not appreciate the gravity of his violations. Indeed, rather than acknowledge the limitation of his practice authority in the face of public inquiries about the denial of his admission application in the Southern District or remain silent, Busby instead chose to make a public statement that deflected claiming reports of him being barred, quote, from practicing law in New York State were trash and pure bunk and boasting, quote, although I prefer Texas, I'm proud of the legal work we are doing in New York, end quote. So that's what he put on the Instagram, and now it would have made the document because he could have just been quiet. While it is apparently true that Busby is admitted to practice law in the state court in New York, his public statement in response to the order denying his admission to the Southern District of New York are deliberately misleading. Against this backdrop, the court cannot credit his promise that he will never repeat his misconduct. Indeed, there are at least 19 other judges in this district to whom he has not yet disclosed the order denying admission and from whom he has not yet sought permission to appear pro hac. So there's that, y'all. Diddy does not want him to be able to practice, and that is the reasoning why. So what do you think? Do you think they should just allow him to practice? Or do you think he just messed up? Think he messed up and it's over for him? Let me pull up his little thing that he was putting on there, his admission. That's the admission that he had on there that shows that he can practice in the state of New York. However, he knows that the average person doesn't know procedurally how this goes. And so what Diddy is alleging is that when he posted that on his Instagram page, he was being misleading because that has nothing to do with whether you were denied admission. Now, people saying barred, in the Southern District, that is not the truth. He wasn't barred. He was denied for those cases. And they told him in the future, he is going to, they didn't tell him you can't never practice here. That's not what they said. They did say that when you do decide that you want to file a case here, you're going to have to disclose that you practice and filed several cases. Basically, you affix your signature knowing that you didn't have permission to practice in here. And so you got to attach this order that we denied you admission. So that's that. Let me see if anything else was filed in the McCrary case before we get off of here. Let me see, because as soon as I get off, that's when stuff happens. Because I was trying to see everything that may have happened. We know that in a criminal case, Combs has filed a motion to suppress the search warrants. He has filed that. So he is trying to, his attorney's been working. His attorneys is working. Okay, we got something that was filed on the 26th. Let me see what it was. Declaration in opposition. Busby done filed something. Let's see what Busby said. What do you have to say? Let's see. So this is a declaration of mark in opposition to plaintiff's amended motion for admission. Also, this was a part of the Diddy situation. Okay, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Thought it was something. Make sure you guys hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. So Cassandra said if he filed cases before he had approval, they are probably going to be dismissed. Yes, that's what I would think. I think that dismissal applies to everything you ever filed. Why wouldn't it? When they say you can apply in the future, I think it's any cases you decide to file later. But if he dismisses these cases without prejudice and starts all over again, he may have some statute of limitation issues. So he may not even be able to do that. So let's see. Yeah, we're going to see what happens, but this might be a maneuver that will get Diddy up under some of these cases. Because I kept saying, I was like, you know what? I said, I'm not being funny. I said, but I don't know how his lawyers is doing this. I don't know how in the heck they are even doing this. Because that's a lot of cases. He was getting hit like this. And remind you, Busby isn't the only attorney that is. You got Blackburn has a case against him. You got Gloria Allred has a case. We have, I think it's Cassie's attorneys. They have a few cases against him. So it's not just Busby. He has the bulk of the cases. Nobody has as many as him, but he does have other cases. So this would get him out up under some cases, but of course not up under all the cases. Why would Tony make such? I don't know. Like, none of this is making sense to me. He doesn't respond. Like, I've reached out to him before and he hasn't responded, which is fine. But now, I mean, if you don't have anything to say, then everything we do is speculation. But I've reached out to Tony Busby on something to see like what his response was. I can't remember what which issue it was, because we've had so many things with him, with Diddy and Jay-Z, but I'm sure it was probably Jay-Z related. But we won't really know. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you? You had no reason, unless he did have a grievance that happened there before and he didn't want to say it or something. I really don't understand like why you wouldn't just, again, unless your strategy was to file it and then y'all all sit down and everything happened with Cassie. But these are not Cassie situations. Like, I'm not trying to minimize nobody's alleged experiences, but a lot of these facts in these Busby cases are like, okay. Like, I don't think the average attorney would just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to, go against Diddy and all these high priced lawyers for this. But with Cassie, first of all, she was with him for a number of years. They were in a relationship. She put names in there. She ain't try to John Doe, Jane Doe you. She put her name on that pleading so everybody knows she wasn't scared. You know, maybe she lived in a level of fear and embarrassment before, but she wasn't anymore. She put her name out there. She put Kid Cudi's name in there. She put in Roger Bond, who was the security. She put some incidents were vague, but for the most part, she was naming folks. People started coming out like, oh, she just now, she want to talk now. They started corroborating what she was saying. So it was just a different thing with Cassie. He hurried up, he settled, and he tried to move on. But then people use that as the catalyst where they were like, oh, if Cassie was so brave, I can say my experience. So that's when everybody started coming out. He has the attorneys who handle the criminal cases and the firm that handles the civil cases. They own it. He has a lot of state court and they are slowly being dismissed. I agree, Queenie. Those civil attorneys is working, but I can't see them doing any other work for anybody else. Because his is enough. He must have came up with a flat fee where he paid a nice big chunk every month. And that's how he's doing it because he got a lot of cases. I mean, mind you, I'm sure he had attorneys, civil attorneys. I think they worked for him before. Celebrities get sued for different reasons often, like for business purposes. You'll look and you'll see like Diddy's name has showed up in lawsuits. He was suing the liquor company. You know, it's been stuff with Sean John. It's been a lot of stuff. So I'm sure that he has civil attorneys on deck. Now, he probably wasn't anticipating all of this, but he has civil attorneys that probably have worked for him in the past. And I agree with you based on it appears that some of these cases are going to have statute of limitation issues. The interpretation of the statutes that they're doing it under, which were unique statutes for New York, which was originally they did like look backs where you can look back 1 year and one statute, look back 2 years, and the statute of limitation didn't matter as long as you did it within the 2 years that statute was framed. And I believe that his attorneys, if he lost, they probably question the constitutionality of it, because the purpose of statutes of limitation is that claims do get stale. So you're talking about people, that's what Bill Cosby went through. They talking about stuff in the 70s and he looking like, I don't even know you. I don't even remember you. Claims get stale. You can't request video from the gas station. You can't request them to preserve certain evidence. It's gone. What can you do? The thing that helped Jay-Z was that girl mentioned that she was at the awards. So now at minimum, we can go look at pictures. There were photographers who were doing hip hop coverage back then. You can look to see if what she's saying could have even happened. There were pictures that she couldn't have talked to, I guess, the limo drivers, because everything was roped off. Like, you were able to look like, okay, and you can say, yeah, her stuff sounded a little shaky because you were able to look. But just imagine someone who is not a celebrity and doesn't go out and ain't gonna have pictures and not gonna be at a show and all of that. So some of this stuff that helped him, and he has some of the best investigators out there. Them investigators, if it's out there, they gonna find it. So that's what helped him as well. And so I think that he is, and I said it in the beginning, I said people are gonna start side-eyeing a lot of people, because I think that a lot of these cases are going to end up being dismissed. I said it in the beginning. A lot of these cases are going to end up getting dismissed, be it just for procedural reasons. But you have people, I think, like Don Richard from Danity Kane. She's suing. We haven't heard much about her case once she initially did the lawsuit, and we haven't heard much about it since. But a lot of them, too, are suing for, well, some of them that are in that music portion for like royalties, or they weren't paid. That's part of what was on with the Rodney Jones with Lil Rod. He's saying that Diddy didn't pay him for the Love album. The Love album just happened, so that was a more recent situation. But then you had Don Richard. Hers was she was one of the ones that stayed in communication with him for making the band. The other ones didn't really. So, could the other attorneys listed cases be held accountable. Well, you do have to provide an affidavit where you basically attest that you know they're in good standing and all of that. And that's what that attorney did. That attorney that was local counsel was like, to my understanding, he relayed to me. I don't think that that attorney said it in a way that was definitive. I think that that attorney just said what was told. But I think it's also a lesson to attorneys that even though sponsoring somebody sometimes seems harmless, it doesn't really mean much. It can affect you as well, because now this attorney is getting a stray bullet that you basically affixed your name to an affidavit saying that he wasn't and didn't have any disciplinary actions, or that he was in no grievances or anything, and he did have it. That attorney probably just didn't know. Some of Sarah's band members are saying that she's lying about what she claimed Diddy did to her. I'm not going to say Sarah is lying because I wasn't there, but I am going to say it was very interesting. It wasn't anything that was like, I can, yeah. I have my, I guess my opinions when it comes to the whole Sarah situation, and I thought it was going to be a big bombshell. I'm not even going to lie. The way they were clipping it on her platform, because again, like Sarah, I guess she does have some music out, or she's doing singles, and I know she has a cosmetic line, but she's remarried, I guess, to some other guy. I think he's her manager. He posts her more than anything. I see a lot. It's like Sarah for making a band, and I think she started attempting to be more visible once this whole Diddy stuff came out. I think a lot of people, like, we haven't seen none of these people from making the band in years. Now you got Chopper. I'm like, what? Oh, where he come from? I seen an interview from Babs. I'm like, what? Like, all of a sudden you're seeing all these people, and now they want to ask, well, did you witness anything? I mean, we all knew from the show he was an asshole. Like, come on. We all knew he was a butthole. Like, he was not nice. He was not a nice person on making the band. So people coming out saying how he was exerting his power and control, that doesn't shock me at all, because that's what he was doing. I don't think that's new information. He was doing it on the show. He was a butthole on the show. I remember when a fight broke out on making the band with the band, and I forgot who it was, but like in the little interview part, he was like, finally a fight. Like, he was just so happy it was a fight. Like, it was a whole joke to him. That's what it felt like. And these were people's career. And I think it's very interesting that, just like Day 26, very talented, has some good music. But once he's like done with you, it's a wrap. And it's hard for people to grab their bearings, I guess, and continue with their careers, it seems like, from the making the band. And that's what everybody's trying to do. I think now, I seen Day 26 did an interview as well with Vlad. And then you had the guy who was dating Don Rashard on the platform. And I guess he was still like in the studios with her and everything, even after they were out the spotlight. He said, I don't know what he witnessed, but he was breaking down crying. He could, his brothers talking about Day 26 knew about it, and they was crying. Apparently he had mental health issues that may be connected to whatever he witnessed, or what some type of email he saw. And then it was a spat between him and Roger Bond, who said he was lying because he the security guard, who I guess is alleging he didn't really see nothing. And he kind of started using this because he has a son that's in Africa that he says is wrongfully incarcerated. So he started doing things like posting stuff, making it seem like he was going to talk, but then he'll delete it and then put stuff about free his son and all of that. So he was kind of using it as a way to direct people to him to try to help his son. I ain't mad at it, but it was just, how he was doing it. People was kind of calling him out. And he was saying he ain't really had nothing to say. He ain't see nothing. And he wasn't going to say anything. But he did acknowledge he had asked Diddy for help for his son. At some point, Diddy did give him a couple of dollars, I guess, to help his son to get an attorney to fight and wherever he is incarcerated. And allegedly he's there for unaliving someone, of which there's no evidence, according to Roger Bond. So then from there, people were kind of coming at him like, hey, you witnessed stuff. Like, why would you be working for this guy like that? So he made it seem like he made an excuse because he was diabetic and sick, that he couldn't be his bodyguard anymore. So he became kind of like the face of doing stuff with Ciroc. So he was saying that's supposed to be partially, I guess, it's the reason why he moved on over to the Ciroc, but he witnessed things with Cassie, and Cassie didn't really like him like that, or was mad at him at some point, because he felt like Diddy came to him and was like, I don't know who I want to be with, whether I want to be with Cassie or Kim Porter. And I guess Roger said that Roger Bond, I guess, text Diddy and said, you should pick Kim or something. And it went to Cassie. So Cassie knew about it or overheard it or something. Some way Cassie found out about it. And so Cassie was mad, I guess, a little bit about that. But he was like in denying like he knew much of anything. That if anything, it was what he did in the pleading where he helped her with one incident with Diddy. And then he started doing interviews. Like he went on a couple of interview platforms when he said he wasn't. Then he started taking domestic violence classes and started trying to turn it into he helped people with DV, I guess, using it as a catapult to that. And now, because Day 26 came out with some information about him that they alleged one of the persons from Day 26, he was like, I never met that cat. He's lying. And he cussed people out on his platform that be bringing up stuff saying that he did it. But yeah, it's been a mess. The whole thing is a mess. Anyway, this is our you said his son seems, you know what? I don't know anything about anything with his son, so I'm not gonna say that. He was found guilty, I believe, so he's serving the time. So I don't think he's awaiting trial. If I remember correctly, but I'm not sure of that, but I believe because he's been there for a minute. And I think whatever time he actually was doing, they didn't credit it like how they do here. It's crazy. He got in trouble in a whole nother country. When in Rome, you got to act like the Romans, and they got a whole different system, so he got caught up. Diddy may walk, but I don't believe it'll be because he's innocent. Okay, Miss HLS, all right. Yeah, I did some research. There's definitely some evidence. Okay, overthoughts. I believe I haven't looked at it at all. And I do wrongful convictions, but that wasn't anything I was really interested in, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah. But that's it, y'all. I'm going to get up out of here. And if something else happens, you guys know we'll be right back here. Make sure you hit the like button. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Facebook, I love y'all, but I'm gonna have to not do y'all no more. Messing up my stuff over here. I don't know what it is, and it got my internet acting wacky and all type of stuff. So if you are on Facebook, make sure that you come over here to the YouTube side of the street. Leave the storefront. We got a mega church over here. Need you to come over here to the mega church, and I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I want you to like the video. Thank you, Miss Buckeye, for the super sticker. Thank you for consistently supporting. Thank you so much for supporting my father's channel as well. If you guys are trying to get a word from the Lord, that's where you go for that. All right, y'all. I am out of here. And I'll talk to you guys next time.